Hi, this is Dave Anderson, HELICOOL'S Helipad. We take corn on the cob, and this is sweet corn, and turn it into something that I can use for cornmeal. So I've saved some corn on the cob, and it's been drying in this rack with the husks on. And I've just started to remove some of the husks because it wasn't quite drying very good, and I was just kind of worried about the mold growth. And sure enough, about half of my corn that I've left in the cob, or the outer shell rather, is moldy, and I've had to throw quite a bit of it away. So what I'm going to do is stack it like this, crisscross it a little bit, and no more than 2 rows, if I can even get 2 rows out of all this. And hopefully all this will dry out. There was one that I actually got all the kernels off of because it was completely dry, and it looks pretty good. All of these kernels are there's a little bit of moisture still left in them, but they're pretty hard and dry. So the object is to try to at least fill this bucket if I can. I find it very odd that some of them that are side by side, I mean, they look like this. This looks like it's almost just freshly picked, not dried out one bit hardly. And then you have others that are like this, that are like almost done. They're about ready to have all of its grains picked off. Well, this corn has sat here for, what has it been, about almost 4 weeks, and it's looking pretty gnarly down deep inside there. But you know what? You'll find one that's all moldy and one sitting right next to it is absolutely fine, even though it has a disgustingly moldy outer layer on its husk. But I think for sure leaving the husk on it, especially stacking it too deep, that was just the wrong thing to do. I'm losing about half the crop doing that. All right, well, that's all of it. And I figure that I probably lost about 1/3 of the crop due to mold. Definitely. And I know somebody's going to tell me, hey, dummy, you should have taken the husk off and you would have lost less corn. And that's probably the way they did it in the olden days. But again, this is my first time. So experiment is underway. Now what I do to get the kernels off, I just take my thumb and just push it against this edge, and they seem to just pop right out. But you know, this is just how I do it, and just work it on down, work it all the way around, try to get a little deeper each time. But you can see it's working pretty good. It comes off fairly easily. Obviously these have to be fairly dry, otherwise they just mush. But you know, Mother Nature, God made these things a certain way so that you know, these are all seeds, and He made them to come apart like this and replant themselves, propagate the species. So it isn't too bad. It isn't too hard to pop these off, and hopefully I can get this bucket full. I moved the corn outside because it's still a fairly warm August day. I don't think it's 80 degrees out, but it's pretty close to that. But the corn is drying out real nice out in the sun. And I should be able to start harvesting some of these
pretty soon.
Now, just after doing a few corn husks, I do it just slightly different each time. The best way that I've seen to do it is, of course, I pick off any of the ones that I see are kind of black or rotten or whatever, and I start down at this end and at the thick end, and that's if you start down here, I've found anyway, it comes apart a little easier, and you can just kind of use your thumbs to pull it apart and kind of work it down toward the end, and it seems to come apart a lot easier just running my thumb down it. Then after you kind of get one done, then you can just run your thumb down the whole deal like this, and they just fall off like crazy. So that I've noticed is really the easiest way to do this. Of course, it's not really all that easy. It does start to make your thumb raw after a little while, and I'll probably have to stop before I get blisters or whatever, but because it is rubbing, and these kernels are quite hard. But before long, you have the thing stripped, and works pretty good. Of course, the byproduct of shucking all of the corn is that you're left with these analogs for toilet paper. These are somewhat soft. I'm not quite sure if you'll get me to use these as toilet paper, but if I had to in a pinch, I would definitely use this over some dried leaves, that's for sure. Well, I found a way to make this go a whole lot faster and save my thumbs, because I've been just tearing my thumbs up. It's basically to get all of the bad kernels of corn off and get two of them together. Get the rest of these bad kernels off of here. Get two of them together and just start rubbing. Amazing. You can do 2 ears of corn at once, save my thumbs and my fingers from getting destroyed. And I figure probably 10 times faster. Just rotate them around. And what I'm doing is I'm basically just scrubbing the corn kernels off with the other corn kernels, and well, does the trick pretty dang fast. And this thing is, you know, pretty easy just to take the rest off. These were kind of moldy anyway, so well, since I've never done this before, it's you live and you learn, and you invent new ways. Mother of necessity. So here I sit, sun's going down, so I'm really getting a lot of sun out on my face. But here I sit, and we're about ready to grind up this corn I've had drying in my living room for, well, the last couple of weeks, but prior to that, it was, of course, drying in the racks. I've got it all husked. But I have this grinder. It's actually made by Husqvarna. So there's the grinder. And I'm just going to, of course, put the corn in here and just start turning this handle. And I should get cornmeal out the other side. We'll see how all this works. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna just carefully load some of this up here. Again, this is the first time that I've ever done this. I got this grinder borrowed from my dad. He said, hey, you touched it last, which means in our family, don't bring it back. So, all right, there we go. It's taking it down. I can't say that this is an easy thing to turn. Holy mackerel. Yeah, I'm thinking that this is not going to do this is not going to do the job. Either that or it's got way too coarse of a... Yeah, it's way too coarse. I can't get even the first little bit through. Unless what I need to do is just not put so much in there. Take some of this out. And only just do like one handful at a time. I suppose I could try that. Because this is just getting way too bound up. I'm going to give that a shot, see how that works. Goodness sakes. This wants to... I think that the holes here are much too fine yet, and I need to find something that's got a little bit bigger hole that it can go through. Maybe do a coarse grind at first, and then a little bit finer grain after that, because yeah, this just isn't working. Putting way too much pressure on it, and that's all I've gotten so far. About 2, maybe 3 spoonfuls. Looks like I'm going to have to get a bit of a different, maybe a less coarse of a grind on this, and set it through maybe 2-3 times, and I think that might work. Well, it is kind of working a little better just putting in just a very small handful at a time. When I mean small handful, I mean pretty small, very small handful. Some of it looks a little bit like couscous because it's kind of balling up just a little bit, but you know what? That's pretty fine grain right there. Because it's coming out sort of, it's squeezing it out into like little logs. I'm thinking it might be an indication that it's still a little bit too wet. So I might just finish up grinding what I have here, clean this back up, and wait a couple more weeks for this to dry a little bit more. Well, I've done a little closer inspection of just these first few handfuls that I've made, and you know, it actually looks like it's ready to be ground up. It's looking very beautiful inside there, actually. It's fairly coarse grain even right now, as far as I'm concerned. So I think it's actually ready to go. But grinding all that corn that I got, that's going to take some arm power right there. I can guarantee you that. Well, I guess that's the way it was in the pioneering days. So I got to get busy and make some more cornmeal and do some muffins for the first time with this. Should be nice and sweet. Grinding all that corn that I got, that's going to take some arm power right there. I can guarantee you that. Well, I guess that's the way it was in the pioneering days.
Well, that's not exactly true. I mean, it is, but it isn't. I'm going to try doing some parched corn. I just kind of heard about that, and we'll kind of see what parched corn does. I think it's going to go through the grinder a whole lot easier. And I think I'm just going to shoot a whole new video on how to do parched corn, because I think it's intriguing, and I think it's going to work a whole lot better. Anyway, if you like the raw corn and want to make some corn muffins, well, that's the process to do it. We'll see how a parched corn muffin goes too, though. Until next time, be safe and God bless.